Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today, Dr. John Vileman, of Tennessee State University professor of politics. He's also the dean of the honors college there. Dr. Vile, Republicans have been looking so far without much success to find an issue to run against the president for 2022 and, for that matter, 2024. Do you think how he exited might be the number one thing on the list right now?
Well, again, you have COVID, you have Afghanistan, and we have yet to see what's going to happen with the infrastructure bills. But particularly if they end up, being more inflationary than is predicted, that certainly would not bode well.
Yeah, inflation has been up quite a bit, and the Republicans at first thought, before the Afghanistan thing sort of blew up, that perhaps that would be lifted. But the administration says that the numbers are only temporary. Do you think that's right? There are some indications in some of the recent numbers that perhaps some of the inflationary trends we had seen perhaps are subsiding a little bit as the economy reopens.
A lot of it seems to be supply line related to COVID shutdowns and, unexpected developments with that. If COVID if we have a fifth wave or the fourth wave continues to be bad, it certainly will not be a good sign for us.
The most recent polls have shown about a 5-point dip already for President Biden's job performance numbers. A lot of it seems to be because of the Afghanistan developments. He's below 50% for the first time since he's been in office. This is somewhat an unrelated issue, but might this crisis hurt his chances to pass one or both of those infrastructure bills that are pending in Congress?
It might. My thinking has been that he's going to have a greater chance of passing the one that actually received 10 or 12 Republicans on board. The other probably could be forced through, but there's so much money expended that if it has bad inflationary results, then the party that voted for it's going to have to take the responsibility for it.
It also appears one of the biggest challenges facing these infrastructure bills might be the growing feud between moderate and progressive Democrats in both the House and the Senate on how to pass the bills and in what order. Is this dispute another sign that Will Rogers was right many years ago, that the Democrats are not an organized political party?
I've quoted that a lot, but frankly, it's not quite as true of the modern Republican Party, but for much of its history, there have been, you've had your more conservative and your more moderate Republicans. So it's not unique to the Democratic Party. If
the Democrats can remain united in Congress, especially in the Senate, it seems they can pass the legislation in both these bills, but they are so large and so sweeping, they resemble more bills that came out or new laws that came out during during the New Deal or the Great Society. Yet the margins that the Democrats have in this are much, much smaller than what LBJ or, for that matter, yes, FDR had when they passed their programs. It's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
It is, and it comes on if you think about it, it was just several years back that during the Obama administration we had the Affordable Care Act being passed, and that had been proposed from every Democratic president from Truman on. Biden has one advantage, which he's been he's a creature of the Senate as much as he is of the presidency, and probably knows people there better than most presidents would. In that respect, he resembles a little bit Lyndon Johnson.
So is it your feeling the Democrats will eventually stay united and pass both these bills, or they're going to let this effort, however, let the politically perfect defeat what most people couldn't have believed the Democrats could even get through Congress a couple of months ago?
I feel more confident about the $1.3 trillion bill than I do about the 3.4 or whatever the current number is, but I think there's a chance for both. Local infrastructure. Go ahead.
I was going to say the larger bill you're talking about is going to pass, if it does pass, under congressional rules that don't require any Republican votes. But the smaller bill that you've also been talking about needed at least 10 Republicans to pass the Senate. It got that. In fact, it got 19 Republicans to vote for it. How did that happen?
Yes. Well, again, infrastructure is something that people can, it's not as abstract as foreign aid and a lot of other projects that we have. We can see roads and bridges that are deteriorated. We know there are places that don't have internet access and the like. And I think, noticeably in the last programs, even members of Congress who voted against prior bills then go back to their districts and say, what a great thing, we just got a new post office or a new road.
But even Republican leader Mitch McConnell voted for the smaller infrastructure bill. He had famously said before this he was going to spend 100% of his time to defeat the Biden agenda. So what made him change his mind?
Well, again, I think part of it is probably his own constituents. I think it's a far better position for Republicans not to be against everything. You know, they need to be for some things and to say, you know, we didn't favor $4 trillion, but we did favor $1.3 trillion. We thought that was a reasonable and moderate thing to do.
Finally, there's a continued influx, a record influx of migrants across the southern border. This problem didn't begin with this president, but it seems to have gotten worse, at least temporarily. Do you see any sign the Biden administration is getting some handle on this problem? And if so, what is it?
Well, not a lot, but I must say here, this is a congressional failing as much as it is a presidential failing. Congress has been looking at immigration legislation and has the primary responsibility for it for the last 20 or 30 years. And we're so divided on the issue, and, you know, particularly with sort of the demonization of immigration that occurred during the Trump administration, I think it's made it even more difficult to come to consensus.
Very quickly, we seem to be so divided on so many things. Does Congress, does the federal government still function and work except for maybe passing some infrastructure bills?
I hope it does. After filling out I had a form to fill out for a speech I'm giving as James Madison, and the instructions for a simple, you know, what is your name and address was 17 pages, and I wrote, what is James Madison wrought? So I hope we're not in that sad a shape.
Dr. Weil, thank you so much for being with us. Always great to have you on the program. You always bring such insights and wisdom to the topics we're talking about. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
That's Inside Politics for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're back here again for a future show. If you can't get enough politics in the meantime, go to my website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you here next time. Goodbye.